Welcome everyone to the deep dive. Okay, picture this. You're creeping through some forgotten dungeon, maybe, or lost deep in a misty forest, and then you hear it, a faint scratching, a deep rumble, maybe leathery wings flapping overhead. How do you even know what's coming?
It's that moment, right? The tension builds. For ages, adventurers just had to guess, or maybe hope their scout wasn't, immediately eaten. But if you really want to understand the creatures of these worlds, or if you're the one making those worlds, there's a better way.
Exactly. And that's what we're getting into today. We're pulling back the veil on the monsters, the beasts, the entities that make these games tick. Specifically, we're focusing on the creature stat blocks as presented in the updated 2024 rulebook for Dungeons & Dragons.
That's the plan. We've got excerpts here from Appendix B of the new core rules. And these aren't just flavor text entries. They are like the actual blueprints, the stat blocks. They give us the raw data on how a creature operates from something tiny like a bat all the way up to, well, a Sphinx of Wonder.
Right. So, our mission for this deep dive is pretty clear. We want to break down every single piece of a typical creature stat block you'll find in these sources. We're not just going to define armor class or hit points. We want to explore what those numbers mean for playing the game, for strategy, for designing encounters.
Think of it like this. By the end of this, you'll have a kind of X-ray vision for monsters. Yeah. You'll be able to look at a stat block, any stat block, really, and almost instantly get a feel for its strengths, its weaknesses, what kind of fight it's going to bring. It's honestly fundamental whether you're facing these things or running them.
Absolutely. And for everyone watching this on Dragons and Disasters, this is super relevant stuff. Maybe you're a player trying to figure out how to beat that weird tentacle thing the DM threw at you, or you're DM searching for the perfect creature for that swamp encounter. Understanding the stat block, that's your key. So, let's jump in, starting right at the top.
Okay, the very first line you see, that's the header. It's the creature's basic ID tag, you could say.
Yeah, starts simple. Creature name, okay, easy enough. But then immediately, size. And this is actually really important right off the bat. It ranges from tiny frogs, scorpions in our examples, through small medium, which is where a lot of humanoids and things like apes or wolves sit, then large, like lions or bears, and even huge. The elephant here is huge.
And size is not just flavor. It directly affects gameplay. How much space does it control on a grid? Tiny might be less than a 5-foot square. Small and medium typically take up 1 5-foot square. Large is a 2x2 grid, so 10 feet by 10 feet. Huge is 3x3, 15 by 15 feet. This impacts movement. Who can squeeze past melee reach?
Right. And even things like carrying capacity. We see that later with the mules trait, making it count as large for carrying stuff. So yeah, size matters immediately. You need to picture how this thing fits into the environment.
Underneath size, you get the creature's type. This is a big one, mechanically speaking. Certain spells, magic items, class features, they often target specific creature types.
And our sources give a good mix. You've got beasts, your regular animals like apes, bears, wolves, pretty common. But then undead, like skeletons and zombies, they might be vulnerable to turn undead or certain radiant damage effects, maybe immune to poison, stuff like that.
Exactly. Then fiends, like the imp and quasit, usually from the lower planes, often have resistances, maybe fire resistance, maybe magic resistance, vulnerabilities perhaps to holy effects.
Yeah.
We see a celestial too, the Sphinx of Wonder being from the upper planes, often with resistances, maybe aligned with good magic.
And aberrations, like the slud tadpole. These are the weird ones, often alien, sometimes psychic, maybe with really strange resistances or abilities. Knowing the type gives you your first big clue about potential immunities, resistances, or vulnerabilities. It helps you guess what might work, or what might spectacularly fail.
And the last piece of the header, alignment. This gives you a sense of the creature's typical morality and ethics. Is it driven by instinct, pure evil, cosmic law, or what?
It's a guideline, right? Not like every single wolf acts exactly the same, but it helps. Lots of beasts here are unaligned, acting on animal instinct.
But then you get the specifics. Lawful evil for the imp and skeleton suggests a kind of ordered malevolence. Chaotic evil for the quasit points towards destructive, unpredictable evil. Neutral evil for the zombie is just base undeath, consuming without structure or chaos, really.
On the flip side, the Sphinx of Wonder is lawful good, inherently virtuous, maybe upholding cosmic order, and the slud tadpole is chaotic neutral, utterly unpredictable, maybe driven by strange alien urges. It helps the DM portray the creature and helps players decide, can we even talk to this thing?
So that's the header. Name, size, type, alignment, your instant snapshot.
Okay, snapshot taken. Now let's get into the core combat numbers. How tough is it? How fast is it? Starting with armor class, AC.
AC. Simple concept, huge impact. It's the target number an attacker needs to meet or beat on their attack roll to land a hit. Basically, how hard is it to get past its defenses, highs, scales, armor, agility, whatever it is.
And looking at our list here, there's quite a spread. You've got the poor old zombie shuffling along with an AC of 8. That's really low. You're probably going to hit it most of the time.
Yeah, an AC 8 means volume of attacks might be more important than precision. You don't necessarily need advantage or bless spells as much. But then you look at something like the giant spider or the giant crab, both sitting at AC 15.
That's a respectable AC, especially at lower levels. Suddenly hitting it isn't guaranteed. Players might need to think about flanking for advantage, using spells that force saving throws instead of targeting AC, or just accepting that some swings are going to whiff. A higher AC generally means it sticks around longer against physical attacks.
And lots of creatures fall in between. An ape or wolf might be AC 12 or 13, a black bear, an imp, maybe AC 14. It's one of the quickest ways to gauge how defensively sturdy a creature is against regular weapon attacks.
Okay, AC is how hard it is to hit. Next up, hit points, HP. How much punishment can it take before it drops?
Right, HP is its damage threshold. And the stat block usually gives you two things. The average HP, which is handy for quick reference, and the formula used to get that average. It's always based on hit dice and the creature's constitution modifier.
Explain that a bit. Hit dice, constitution modifier.
So hit dice are like a measure of the creature's general size and toughness. Tiny creatures often have D4 hit dice, small and medium, often D8s, large D10s, huge D12s. The number of dice reflects its overall level or challenge. Then you add the constitution modifier, that bonus or penalty, based on its con end score to each of those dice when calculating the total HP.
Ah, okay. So a high con score makes a big difference.
Huge difference. Look at the frog.
Yeah.
Tiny creature, one hit die, a D4. Its constitution is only 8, which gives a Nanus 1 modifier. So its HP formula is 1D4-1. Average is just 2 HP. Very fragile.
And compare that to, say, the Mastiff. Medium creature, 3 hit dice, D8s. Its EON is 14, which is a +2 modifier. So its formula is 3D8 plus 6. That's +2 for each of the 3 dice. Average HP is 19. Much tougher.
Or the extreme example here, the elephant. Huge creature, 8 hit dice, D12s, and a solid con of 17 for a +3 modifier. Formula, 8D12 plus 24, 8 times +3. Average HP, a whopping 93. That thing can soak up a lot of damage.
And conversely, if a creature has a negative con mod, it really hurts their HP, like we saw with the frog or the scorpion, which also has econ 8-1. Understanding that formula also means a DM could, slightly tweak the rolled HP to make a specific encounter a bit tougher or easier without changing the whole stat block.
Exactly. And for players, seeing a high HP total, especially combined with a decent AC, signals that this isn't going down in one hit. You need sustained damage output.
Okay, so AC keeps hits away, HP soaks up the hits that land. What about getting to the fight or getting away? Speed?
Speed tells you how far in feet the creature can move using its movement on its turn. A standard round is 6 seconds, so this is its movement rate within that time.
Most humanoids and many beasts have a walking speed, maybe 30 feet, sometimes 40 feet for faster ones like horses. But that's just the start, right? Our sources show tons of different movement types.
Oh yeah, this is where encounters get interesting. Climb speed, we see it on the ape, cat, giant spider, lizard spider. Suddenly walls and ceilings are part of the battlefield. They can attack from above, retreat upwards. It adds that vertical element.
Then there's burrow speed, badger, giant badger, the slad tadpole. They can just disappear underground, pop up behind you, escape through the floor. Really changes things, especially in earthy terrain.
Swim speed is obviously key for water encounters. Black bear, brown bear, snakes, crocodiles, crabs, sharks, octopus. If the fight's in the water, a creature with a high swim speed has a massive advantage over someone just flailing around.
And fly speed. Bats, hawks, imps, owls, pseudo-dragons, quasits. Flight offers incredible mobility, getting away from ground-based threats, reaching high places, attacking from angles melee characters can't easily reach, and some flyers even have the flyby trait, which makes them even slipperier.
Absolutely. So the combination of the speed value and the types of movement available tells you so much about how this creature will likely behave in a fight. A cave encounter with giant spiders using climb speed is totally different from an open field fight. A chase involving creatures with different movement modes, swim, fly, burrow, becomes incredibly dynamic.
It defines their whole tactical approach, really. Okay, so we've got the basic defenses and movement down. Let's move deeper into the creature's inherent, talents, and senses, the ability scores section.
Right. This is the foundation for a lot of other mechanics. Just like player characters, monsters have the 6 core ability scores. Strength, STR, Dexterity, DEX, Constitution, Sion, Intelligence, INT, Wisdom, WIS, and Charisma, CHA.
Measuring physical power, agility, toughness, smarts, awareness, and personality or force of will, basically.
Exactly. And crucially, each score has a modifier, calculated the same way as for PCs. Score 10 is 2 rounded down. So a score of 10 or 11 is plus 0, 12 or 13 is plus 1, 8 or 9 is mech is 1, and so on. These modifiers are what get added to rolls.
And wow, looking across these creatures, the range is huge. Strength goes from a pathetic 1 to 5 modifier for a tiny frog or scorpion,
Not much.
all the way up to the elephant's massive 22, which is a plus 6 modifier. That's immense physical power.
Dexterity, you see the imp and quasit being very nimble at 17, plus 3, while the elephant is relatively clumsy at 9, enough of 1. Constitution, we already touched on how it affects HP, ranging from 8, Eureka 1 for fragile creatures like cats or lizards, up to the elephant 17 plus 3.
Intelligence is interesting, too. You see the clear difference between instinct-driven animals like the camel or goat with INT2 from before, and more cunning creatures like the imp or quasit at INT 11 plus 0, or the Sphinx of Wonder, also INT 11 plus 0.
Wisdom, which often relates to perception and instinct, goes from a low of 5 negative 3 for things like lizards or basic spiders, up to a very sharp 13 plus 1 for alert creatures like bears or giant spiders, or even higher for specialized senses like the hawk's 16 plus 3.
And charisma, often really low for beasts like 4 to 4 or 6-2, showing they don't really rely on social interaction. But for creatures that might negotiate, deceive, or command, like the imp quasit 10 plus 0 or the Sphinx 11 plus 0, it's average or better.
These scores and their modifiers really define the creature's natural aptitudes. What is it good at? What is it bad at? And you see that reflected right away because the column headers above the scores often say, a Mo save.
Yeah, I see that. So it's reminding you that these ability modifiers are the base number you use for that creature's saving throws unless they have specific proficiency noted somewhere else.
Precisely. If it has to make a dexterity saving throw to dodge a fireball, you use its dexterity modifier. If it needs a wisdom save against a charm spell, use its wisdom modifier.
Okay, makes sense. Then below the scores, we sometimes see skills listed. What does that mean?
If a skill is listed here, like athletics or stealth or perception, it means the creature is proficient in that skill. So when it makes an ability check using that skill, it adds its proficiency bonus in addition to its regular ability modifier.
Gotcha. So it's like they're trained or naturally gifted in that specific area. What examples do we see?
Athletics shows up for strong or agile creatures like the ape, giant spider, giant weasel, quasit, suggesting they're good at climbing, jumping, grappling, that kind of thing. Stealth is really common for predators or sneaky types. Cat, constrictor snake, giant spider, hawk, imp, panther, raven, wolf. You get the idea. They're good at hiding or moving unseen.
And perception seems almost universal. Ape, bear, cat, crocodile, dire wolf, elephant, elk, hawk, imp, lion, owl, panther. Even the zombie has perception proficiency.
Right. It means most creatures are reasonably alert. It's often harder to sneak up on them than you might think, which leads us directly to senses.
Okay, senses. What's listed here? I see dark vision, blind sight, passive perception.
Dark vision is the most common. It lets a creature see in dim light as if it were bright light, and in darkness as if it were dim light, usually out to a certain range, like 60 feet. Super useful for creatures living underground or active at night. Most of the creatures here seem to have it.
Blind sight is different, though.
Yeah, blind sight allows a creature to perceive its surroundings without relying on sight, maybe through echolocation, tremor sense, or magic. We see it on the bat, giant spider, imp, quasit, reef shark, scorpion. A creature with blind sight can see even in magical darkness and can detect invisible creatures within its range. Very powerful.
And passive perception, we mentioned it earlier with skills.
Right. It's listed here for convenience. It's calculated as 10 plus the creature's wisdom modifier plus its proficiency bonus, if proficient in perception, plus any other special bonuses. This is the DC for players trying to sneak past or hide something from the creature when the creature isn't actively searching. It's their baseline awareness.
And the values vary a lot. The slad tadpole has a passive perception of only 7, pretty oblivious. But the hawk and imp, passive perception 16, very hard to surprise them.
Exactly. It's a key number for DMs running exploration and stealth.
Okay, last bit in this section. Languages. Straightforward.
Mostly. For most beasts, it just says none. They communicate through animal noises. But for anything with more intelligence or a specific origin, it's important. Imp and Quasit speak common, and their native fiendish tongues, infernal abyssal.
Some understand but can't speak, like the pseudo-dragon understands Draconic and Common but can't speak. Or the skeleton understands languages it knew in life but is mute. Or the sled tadpole.
And the Sphinx of Wonder speaks Celestial and Common. Knowing the languages tells you if negotiation, intimidation, or deception through speech is even an option. It adds that crucial role-playing dimension.
Okay, so that covers the creature's inherent abilities, skills, senses, and communication. Now let's zoom out a bit. How tough is this creature overall, in game terms, and what makes it truly unique? That brings us to challenge rating and traits.
Challenge rating. CR. This is the number everyone looks at first, maybe too often in isolation. It's meant to be a rough gauge of how difficult this creature is for a standard party of 4 adventurers. A CR1 creature is supposedly a decent challenge for a party of 4 first-level characters.
And it directly connects to the experience points, XP, you get for defeating it, right?
Correct. The higher the CR, the more XP. Our sources show a good spread. Lots of CR0 creatures: bat, cat, crab, frog, goat, hawk, lizard, owl, rat, raven, scorpion, spider. These are worth 10 XP each. Barely a speed bump for most parties, more like environmental flavor and nuisances.
Then you get CR18, 25 XP, for things like a camel, giant weasel, mule, pseudo-dragon, quasit, sled, tadpole. Still pretty weak, but maybe a threat in numbers to level 1 characters.
CR14, 50 XP, steps it up a bit. Boar, constrictor snake, crocodile, elk, giant badger, wolf, zombie. Now we're talking potential threats, especially to a single low-level character. A couple of these could be a real fight.
CR1, 200 XP is a significant benchmark. Brown bear, dire wolf, imp, lion, mastiff, panther, skeleton, warhorse. A single CR1 creature can seriously challenge a first-level party, maybe even kill someone if things go badly.
And the highest in our provided list is the elephant at CR4, 1100 XP. The CR4 creature is intended as a solid encounter for a 4th-level party, or potentially a boss fight for lower levels.
But CR is just a guideline, yeah. Environment, party composition, tactics, they all play a huge role.
Absolutely. It's a starting point, not the whole story. And tied closely to CR is the proficiency bonus, PB. It's listed right there near the CR. For all these creatures, CR0 through CR4, the PB is +2. This bonus gets added to their proficient skills, proficient saving throws, if any listed, and importantly, their attack rolls. It scales with CR, representing their increasing competence.
Okay, CR and PB give us the general power level, but the real flavor, the unique stuff, comes from the traits section, right?
Absolutely. Traits are the passive abilities, the things that are just true about the creature, no action required. This is where the design really shines and creatures become distinct.
We should probably go through all the ones listed here because they're so illustrative.
Let's do it. First up, Bloodied Fury on the boar. Advantage on attack rolls when it's bloodied, meaning half HP or less.
Yeah, that's cool. It tells you the boar gets more dangerous as you hurt it. It fights harder when cornered. It changes the dynamic. Do you try to burst it down quickly or control it? Crocodile has hold breath. Can hold its breath for an hour. Simple. Defines its ambush style from underwater.
Similar environmental traits. Amphibious for the crab and giant crab. Breathe air and water. Opens up shoreline encounters. Water breathing for the giant seahorse. Reef shark. Octopus, purely aquatic.
Then a big one. Pack tactics. Found on dire wolves, lions, reef sharks, regular wolves, even warhorses. Advantage on attack rolls if an ally is within 5 feet of the target and isn't incapacitated.
This trait fundamentally changes how you should run these creatures and how players should fight them. DMs use them in groups. Players break up the pack. Focus fire. Use area effects. Anything to deny that advantage. It makes them incredibly dangerous when coordinating.
Frog has standing leap. Can make decent jumps without a running start. Seems minor, but lets a tiny creature hop onto things or across gaps unexpectedly.
Spider climb on the giant spider, lizard, and regular spider. Climb difficult surfaces, including upside down, no check needed. Game changer for any encounter not on a flat, open plane. Walls and ceilings are now attack vectors.
And related, web walker for the spiders. Ignore web restrictions. Know where anything touching the same web is. Perfect synergy. They control their webbed environment completely.
Mule gets beast of burden, counts as one size larger for carrying capacity. Pure utility defines its role.
Owl gets flyby. Doesn't provoke opportunity attacks when flying out of reach. Makes it an amazing harasser or scout. Swoop in, attack, fly away safely. Very annoying for melee fighters.
Panther gets pounce. This is actually tied to an action, but listed as a trait defining its core tactic. Move 20 feet straight, hit with a claw, target saves, or is knocked prone, allowing a bonus action bite. It's that classic feline ambush sprint takedown, bite.
Magic resistance. This is huge defensively. Imp, Quasit, Pseudo-Dragon, Sled, Tadpole, Sphinx of Wonder all have it. Advantage on saving throws against spells and other magical effects makes them significantly tougher for spellcasters to deal with. Control spells fizzle more often, save-based damage is less reliable.
The Imp also has invisibility. Can cast the spell on itself at will, no components. Perfect for spying, escaping, setting up ambushes.
And both the Imp and Quasit get shapeshift. They can turn into specific small beasts, rat, raven, spider for the Imp, bat, centipede, toad for the Quasit. Stats mostly stay the same except speed, but it's fantastic for infiltration or disguise.
Rat has agile. Doesn't provoke opportunity attacks when moving away.
Yeah.
Functionally the same as flyby, but for running, lets them dart through combat.
Raven gets mimicry, can mimic sounds, mostly flavor, but a clever DM could use it for distractions or luring.
And finally, the classic zombie trait, Undead Fortitude. Unless the damage is radiant or a critical hit, if damage drops it to 0 HP, it makes a Constitution save, DC 5 plus damage taken. Success means it drops to 1 HP instead.
This is the reason zombies feel so relentless at low levels. You hit them, they should go down, but they just keep coming. Unless you have that specific damage type or get lucky with a crit, it perfectly captures that unstoppable, shambling horror vibe.
So yeah, the traits section is packed with abilities that define the creature's role, tactics, and flavor far beyond simple numbers.
Totally. It sets the stage for how they fight. Which brings us to the final major section. Actions, bonus actions, and reactions. What can they actually do?
Right. The action section lists what a creature can spend its main action doing on its turn, usually focusing on combat options.
And the most common action is usually an attack action. The format is pretty standard, right? Name of the attack, melee or ranged, the bonus to hit.
Which is typically their relevant ability modifier. Strength for melee, dexterity for ranged finesse, plus their proficiency bonus, plus 2 for all these.
Then the reach, usually 5 feet for melee, or range for ranged attacks, and then the hit line. This gives the average damage, the damage formula, like 1d8 plus 3, and the damage type, piercing, slashing, bludgeoning, poison, etc.
And the variety of attacks here is great. You've got bites everywhere. Bats, bears, snakes, wolves, sharks, spiders, claws from bears, cats, crabs, gore attacks from boars, elephants, goats, hooves from horses, mules, talons from hawks, owls, slam attacks from apes, zombies.
Some use weapons, like the skeleton's short sword or short bow, and some attacks are really special, like the imp or scorpion's sting, which adds poison, or the giant spider's web attack, which can restrain.
And don't overlook the secondary effects. Many attacks have riders. The boar's gore, brown bear's claw, dire wolf's bite, elephant's gore. Lots of these force a strength save, or the target is knocked prone. That's a huge tactical advantage, gives allies advantage on melee attacks against the prone target.
The constrictor snake's constrict, or the giant crab's claw, can grapple and restrain the target, locking them down.
And as you mentioned, poison is common. Imp, Quasit, Pseudo-Dragon, Scorpion, Giant Spider all deliver poison damage or the poison condition. Disadvantage on attacks and ability checks. This forces players to think about cures, resistances, or enduring the debuff.
So one attack can do a lot, but many creatures get more than one, right? Multi-attack.
Yes, multi-attack is a very common action for creatures CR 12 or higher, roughly. It allows the creature to make multiple attacks using a single action. The ape gets 2 fist attacks. The brown bear gets a bite and a claw. The lion gets 2 rend attacks plus potentially its roar. The elephant gets gore and trample.
This drastically increases their damage output per round. A creature with multi-attack is inherently more threatening than one without, even if their individual hits are weaker. Seeing multi-attack in the actions section is a big red flag for players. This thing hits often.
Beyond just attacking, the actions section might list special actions, unique abilities that use an action. We mentioned the lion's roar. It forces a wisdom save versus frightened in an area. No damage, but pure battlefield control. The panther's prowl allows it to hide as part of its pounce routine.
Okay, those are actions. What about bonus actions?
Bonus actions are less common for monsters in these basic examples, but they provide extra things the creature can do on its turn without using its main action. The elephant's trample is listed here. It can stomp a prone creature as a bonus action. The giant seahorse has bonus dash, letting it dash as a bonus action while swimming extra speed.
So they add a bit more flexibility or punch to the creature's turn.
Exactly. And finally, reactions. These are things a creature can do in response to a specific trigger, even when it's not their turn.
Oh, these are cool. They make the fight feel more dynamic.
Definitely. The octopus has ink cloud, trigger, when it's hit underwater. Reaction, it releases an obscuring cloud and swims away. A great defensive escape maneuver.
The Sphinx of Wonder has burst of ingenuity. Trigger, when it's hit by an attack or spell. Reaction, make a wisdom save. If successful, the effect ends and it gets temporary HP. That's amazing resilience. It can just shrug off effects sometimes.
The reactions allow monsters to interact outside their turn order, responding directly to player actions, which makes them feel much more alive and less predictable.
Wow, okay. So we've gone through the whole thing. Header, base stats, abilities, senses, CR, traits, actions, bonus actions, reactions. It's a lot of interconnected information.
It really is, but you start to see how it all paints a picture, right? The size and speed tell you how it moves and interacts physically with the space. AC and HP define its survivability, ability scores fuel its rolls, senses dictate its awareness, CR gives a rough power level.
And then the traits and actions. That's the core of its identity in combat. A high STR, pack tactics, multi-attack creature plays completely differently than a high DX, stealth, poison attack creature.
Exactly. A zombie with undead fortitude is all about attrition. A spider with spider climb and web is about controlling the environment. An imp with invisibility and shapeshift is about trickery and evasion. The stat block tells that story.
And that's why understanding this matters so much for you, the listener. If you're a player looking at the stat block, or even just guessing based on the creature type and description, helps you make smart choices. Do I use a spell targeting AC or a save? Should we try to separate the pack? Do we need fire or radiant damage for this thing?
And if you're a DM, the stat block is your toolbox. You're not just rolling dice. You're bringing that creature to life based on its design, strengths, and weaknesses. Choosing the right creature for the job isn't just about CR. It's about finding one whose traits and actions create the kind of encounter you want. Do you want mobile skirmishers? A big sturdy brute. Something that messes with the party's heads. The stat block guides you.
It really is the fundamental language of monsters in the game, pulled directly from resources like this updated 2024 rulebook. Not just numbers, but narrative potential.
And once you're fluent in that language, the possibilities really open up.
So that was our deep dive into the creature stat block, breaking down all those components using the examples from the new rulebook's Appendix B. From the basic AC and HP to the really unique traits and actions that make each creature special.
Hopefully you now feel equipped to look at pretty much any stat block in the game and get a much clearer picture of what you're dealing with, its tactics, its strengths, its potential weaknesses. You've got the blueprint.
Which leads us to our final provocative thought for you to chew on. Now that you've seen how all these pieces fit together, which single element of a stat block, maybe a specific trait, a type of action, a combination of stats, do you think is the most underrated or overlooked? What's that one detail that, once you understand it, completely changes how you see or use certain monsters?
Yeah, think about those little details. Is there something hidden in plain sight that has more impact than people realize?
If you're watching this deep dive here on Dragons and Disasters, and you found this whole breakdown useful for getting your head around creature stat blocks, especially with the updated 2024 rules, do us a favor and hit that like button. It really helps us figure out what topics you find valuable.
And subscribing to the channel means you won't miss out on future deep dives. We'll be covering more mechanics, lore, strategies, all that good stuff.
Definitely. And please, jump into the comments below. Let us know which stat block detail surprised you the most during this discussion. Or maybe share your answer to that final thought question we posed. We genuinely enjoy reading your insights and reactions.
Until next time, may your initiatives be high and your monster knowledge serve you well.